Humanity's first contact. Captain Lena Novak gazed out the expansive observation window of the ISV Intrepid, humanity's most advanced interstellar vessel. The inky void of space stretched endlessly before her, punctuated by the twinkling of distant stars. Lena felt a mix of excitement and trepidation as she contemplated the enormity of their mission, to make first contact with an intelligent alien species. "Captain, we're approaching the coordinates of the alien signal," Commander Mikhail Petrov reported from his station on the bridge. ETA 15 minutes. Lena nodded acknowledgement, her eyes still fixed on the stars. She had trained her whole life for this moment, ever since the alien transmission had been detected by Earth's deep space arrays 10 years ago. Deciphering the message had been a monumental international effort, revealing an invitation to meet at a designated point in neutral space near the edge of the galaxy. The Intrepid, equipped with cutting-edge propulsion, communication, and defense technology, had been dispatched to represent humanity in this historic encounter. Lena had been selected to captain the mission due to her unparalleled skills as a diplomat, strategist, and pilot. "Sensors are picking up an unidentified vessel at the meeting coordinates," Lieutenant Ava Katri announced, her voice tinged with a mix of wonder and anxiety. "It's massive, over 10 kilometers long. Energy readings are off the charts." Lena finally turned from the window to face her crew. She saw apprehension on their faces, but also determination and fierce loyalty. They were the best Earth had to offer, and she knew they would not fail in their duty, no matter what awaited them. "This is it," Lena said, her voice calm and assured. "First contact protocol. Broadcast greeting on all frequencies. Prepare ambassador party for potential embarkment. Raise shields but keep weapons cold. We come in peace." The crew leapt into action, hands flying over holographic control interfaces as they carried out their orders. Lena returned her attention to the looming unknown of space. Whatever happened next, she knew, would alter the course of human history. Minutes felt like hours as the Intrepid cautiously approached the gargantuan alien vessel. It was shaped like a sleek silver spearhead, its mirror-like hull reflecting the light of the nearby star. Lena couldn't help but feel insignificant next to its immense size and apparent technological prowess. "Incoming transmission from the alien ship," Comm Officer Liu Jiang reported. "Audio and visual." On screen, Lena commanded, steeling herself. This was the moment of truth. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the interior of the alien vessel. It was a cavernous chamber of gleaming metal and pulsing lights, a dizzying array of advanced technology beyond human comprehension. In the center stood a group of tall, slender beings with smooth gray skin, oversized black eyes, and elongated craniums. They wore shimmering silver robes that seemed to flow like liquid mercury. "Greetings, people of Earth," the centermost alien spoke, its voice a melodic resonance that seemed to bypass the ears and register directly in the mind. "I am Supreme Leader Xyloth of the Zarthian Empire. We have been watching your species with great interest. Your technological progress and expansionist tendencies show promise. We invite you to visit our capital world of Zarthia Prime to open diplomatic relations between our civilizations." Lena stepped forward, projecting a calm she did not entirely feel. "Supreme Leader Xyloth, I am Captain Lena Novak of the ISV Intrepid. On behalf of the United Earth Federation, I thank you for this invitation. We gladly accept and look forward to a productive relationship between our peoples." The Zarthian leader inclined its head in acknowledgement, a very human gesture that Lena found both reassuring and unsettling. "Excellent. Transmitting coordinates to Zarthia Prime now. We will escort your ship. Prepare your delegation for arrival in 8 Earth hours." With that, the screen went dark, leaving Lena alone with the weight of the future on her shoulders. She turned to address her crew. "You heard the Supreme Leader. Ambassador team with me. The rest of you, maintain standard orbit upon arrival. Stay sharp, but stay friendly. Let's show the Zarthians what humanity is made of." As her crew voiced their affirmation and set about preparations, Lena allowed herself a moment of quiet exultation. Against all odds, they had achieved the dream of generations. First contact with an extraterrestrial intelligence. What happened from this point forward would test humanity's resolve, ingenuity, and unity like never before. But Lena had faith in her people. Though they were taking their first steps into a larger universe, filled with unknown dangers and challenges, she knew the indomitable human spirit would not be found wanting. Together, they would face whatever lay ahead with courage, wisdom, and an unshakable determination to leave their mark on the stars. The ISV Intrepid, surrounded by a quartet of mammoth Zarthian battleships, leaped into warp speed towards Zarthia Prime, the capital of the mighty Zarthian Empire. The crew watched the swirling kaleidoscope of hyperspace with a shared sense of nervous anticipation. Little did they know that the greatest threat to humanity's future would not come from the advanced alien civilization, but from a microscopic enemy that even the brilliant Zarthian minds had failed to conquer. An ancient, devastating virus with the power to bring an interstellar empire to its knees and possibly destroy two civilizations in the process. The secrets of Zarthia Prime. As the ISV Intrepid dropped out of warp speed, Captain Lena Novak and her crew were greeted by the breathtaking sight of Zarthia Prime. The Zarthian homeworld was a massive globe of swirling silver and gold clouds, streaked with pulsing veins of neon blue. Orbiting the planet was a vast network of interconnected megastructures, sleek spires, domed habitats, and glittering solar arrays that seemed to defy the laws of physics with their impossible architecture. "It's incredible," breathed Lieutenant Ava Katri, her eyes wide with wonder as she took in the awe-inspiring view. "They've actually built a Type I civilization. Dyson swarms, space elevators, the works." Lena nodded, equally impressed, but also wary. The Zarthians' technological advancement was beyond anything humanity had yet achieved. It was both humbling and concerning. What hope would Earth have if these beings ever turned hostile? As if on cue, Supreme Leader Xyloth's melodic voice emanated from the comm system. "Welcome to Zarthia Prime, people of Earth. You are cleared to dock at the Grand Spire. An honor escort will guide you to the surface for your official reception." The Intrepid glided through the alien megastructures, tiny in comparison, following a winding path illuminated by pulsing guide lights. They eventually arrived at a cavernous docking bay within the Grand Spire that could have easily held a dozen ships the size of the Intrepid. Lena, flanked by her ambassador team and a security detail, disembarked to find a contingent of Zarthian dignitaries waiting for them. The aliens towered over the humans, their quicksilver robes shimmering under the brilliant lights of the hangar. "Captain Novak, it is an honor to welcome you to the heart of our empire," Xyloth said, stepping forward with a fluid grace that seemed to defy its spindly frame. "Come, let us show you the wonders of our civilization." The humans were ushered into a sleek transport craft that whisked them through transparent transit tubes crisscrossing the planet's surface. Below, the great cities of the Zarthians sprawled as far as the eye could see. Gleaming spires, vast industrial complexes, and verdant hydroponic farms, all seamlessly interwoven into the fabric of the planet. Lena and her team marveled at the efficient beauty of Zarthian urban planning, but also noticed something strange. Despite the grandeur of the cities, the streets seemed oddly empty, devoid of the bustling life one would expect from a thriving metropolis. Their destination was the Palace of Unity, a towering structure of twisting silver spires that seemed to touch the sky. Inside, beneath soaring arches of scintillating crystal, the humans were treated to a whirlwind tour of Zarthian culture and technology. Holographic displays showcased the Empire's long history, from their ancient aquatic origins to their ascendancy to the stars. Demonstrations of advanced technologies, from quantum computing to zero-point energy, left the human scientists in Lena's team both awed and overwhelmed. Throughout it all, Supreme Leader Xyloth and the other Zarthian officials were the perfect hosts, patiently explaining every wonder and generously sharing knowledge. Yet Lena couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. Something felt off, though she couldn't quite put her finger on it. It wasn't until the third day of their visit that Lena's suspicions were confirmed. During a rare moment of downtime, she managed to slip away from her assigned escorts and venture into the less polished sections of the city. Here, away from the grandeur of the official tour, she witnessed a very different side of Zarthian life. In the shadows of the gleaming spires, Lena encountered sickly, emaciated Zarthians living in squalid conditions. Their once lustrous skin was dull and mottled, their eyes sunken and lifeless. When they saw Lena, they shied away, clearly fearful of retribution. Shocked and confused, Lena confronted Xyloth at the next diplomatic meeting. "Supreme Leader, I've seen your undesirables. You're downtrodden. What's really going on here?" Xyloth's expression turned grave, the weight of centuries seeming to press down on its shoulders. "You must understand, Captain Novak. Our civilization is not as perfect as it appears. For all our advancements, we have failed to conquer one enemy, a virus that has plagued our people for generations. Those you saw are the infected, the outcasts. We've tried everything to find a cure, but to no avail. Their numbers grow daily, and our society crumbles from within." Lena was stunned. A pandemic threatening an interstellar civilization. It seemed impossible, and yet the evidence was right before her eyes. Her mind raced with the implications. If the virus were to spread to Earth, the consequences would be unthinkable. But at the same time, an opportunity presented itself. If human medical science could succeed where the Zarthians had failed. "Supreme Leader Xyloth," Lena said carefully, "what if we could help? What if the combined efforts of human and Zarthian scientists could find a cure? This could be the beginning of a true partnership between our peoples." Xyloth regarded Lena with an unreadable expression, its obsidian eyes seeming to bore into her very soul. For a long moment, silence hung heavy in the air. Then, slowly, the Zarthian leader nodded. "You may be right, Captain Novak. We have kept this secret for too long, clinging to our pride, even as our civilization rots from the inside. Perhaps it is time to accept that we cannot solve this crisis alone. If you are willing, we would be honored to work alongside humanity in this endeavor." Lena extended her hand, a gesture of human trust and cooperation. After a moment's hesitation, Xyloth grasped it with its long, slender fingers. It was an iconic moment. Two leaders from different worlds, united in a common cause against an invisible enemy. Little did they know, as they shook hands beneath the shimmering spires of Zarthia Prime, that their alliance would soon be tested by forces that sought to use the virus not as a blight to be cured, but as a weapon to be unleashed. The future of both their civilizations would soon hang in the balance, and the fate of the galaxy itself might well depend on the strength and resilience of the human spirit in the face of an implacable foe. An uneasy alliance. In the days following the agreement between Captain Lena Novak and Supreme Leader Xyloth, the ISV Intrepid became a hub of frenetic activity. A team of the Earth Federation's top virologists, epidemiologists, and xenobiologists were swiftly dispatched to Zarthia Prime to begin collaborating with their Zarthian counterparts on finding a cure for the devastating virus. Dr. Elena Soltani, the lead human scientist, was initially overwhelmed by the advanced Zarthian medical technology. Gene editors that could rewrite DNA in real time, nanobots capable of performing surgery on the molecular level, quantum-entangled diagnostic devices. It was like something out of a science fiction novel. Yet for all their technological marvels, the Zarthians have been unable to crack the code of the virus that was slowly but surely eroding the foundations of their society. "It's a complex little bugger," Dr. Soltani explained to Lena during one of their regular briefings. "Highly mutagenic, constantly evolving to evade any treatments thrown at it. The Zarthians have managed to slow its spread with strict quarantine protocols and regular gene therapy for the uninfected, but they've never been able to eradicate it completely." Lena frowned, the weight of responsibility heavy on her shoulders. "What's your assessment, Doctor? Can we find a cure?" Dr. Soltani hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "I believe so, yes. But it won't be easy. The key will be finding a way to target the virus's ability to mutate. If we can lock it into a stable form, we might be able to develop a targeted antiviral that will wipe it out for good. But it will take time, and a lot of trial and error. Lena nodded grimly. Keep at it, Doctor. The clock is ticking. Not just for the Zarthians, but for us as well. If that virus were ever to make its way to Earth. She left the thought unfinished, but the implication was clear. The stakes could not be higher. As the human and Zarthian scientists worked tirelessly in their secure research facility, Lena found herself increasingly embroiled in the complex web of Zarthian politics. Supreme Leader Xyloth, it seemed, was not as universally beloved as the carefully managed public image suggested. Factions within the government viewed the human presence with suspicion and hostility, seeing it as a sign of weakness and a threat to Zarthian supremacy. "You've let the primitives see behind the curtain," snarled one particularly belligerent official during a tense closed-door meeting. "Exposed our vulnerabilities. What's to stop them from using this knowledge against us?" Xyloth's voice remained calm, but there was an edge of steel beneath the melodic tones. "The humans are our allies in this fight, Counselor Xerex. They have as much to lose as we do if the virus is not contained. We must trust in their good faith, as they have trusted in ours." But even as Xyloth spoke the words, Lena could see the doubt flickering behind those inscrutable obsidian eyes. Trust was a fragile thing, and the Zarthians were a proud species. The idea of relying on an inferior race for their very survival grated on many of them. Tensions came to a head when Dr. Soltani and her team made a critical breakthrough. They had managed to isolate a key protein that the virus used to latch onto Zarthian cells, the first step in developing a targeted antiviral. The news was met with celebration by Xyloth and the cooperative faction, but the hardliners saw it as a threat to their position. "If the humans succeed where we have failed," Counselor Xerex hissed in a clandestine meeting with his allies, "we will be forever diminished in the eyes of the galaxy. Our authority will be questioned, our power eroded. We cannot allow this to happen." A plan was hatched, a deadly gambit born of fear and desperation. The hardliners would seize control of the government in a swift coup, eliminate Xyloth and the moderate faction, and put an end to the human-Zarthian alliance. The virus research would be destroyed, the human scientists accidentally killed in the process. The official story would be that the primitives had betrayed them, attempting to weaponize the virus for their own ends. It would be the perfect pretext for a war of extermination against Earth. On the eve of the coup, Lena was roused from a fitful sleep by an urgent comm from Xyloth. The Supreme Leader's image flickered on the screen, its features taut with tension. "Captain Novak, you must evacuate your people immediately. A faction within my government is moving against us. They mean to seize power and destroy any chance of a cure. They plan to kill your scientists and blame it on an accident. You must get them to safety. Now." Lena was out of bed in an instant, adrenaline surging through her veins. She slammed her fist against the emergency alert, her voice booming through the ship's intercom. "All hands, this is the captain. Initiate emergency evacuation protocol Alpha 1. This is not a drill. Ambassador team, secure the scientists and research data. Security team, defensive positions. Prepare for potential hostile action." The Intrepid erupted into controlled chaos as the crew scrambled to carry out their orders. In the research lab, Dr. Soltani and her team hastily downloaded their findings onto secure data chips, wiping the computers behind them. They were hustled onto a waiting shuttle by grim-faced security officers, their faces pale with fear and confusion. Lena stood on the bridge, her eyes locked on the viewscreen showing the glittering spires of Zarthia Prime. Somewhere down there, a battle for the future of two civilizations was being fought. A battle that would decide the fate of billions of lives across the stars. The shuttle carrying the scientists had barely cleared the Intrepid's docking bay when the first explosions bloomed across the planet's surface. The hardliners had made their move, and the Zarthian civil war had begun. "Get us out of here, maximum warp," Lena barked to the helmsman, her voice steady despite the churning fear in her gut. "Set a course for Earth. We have to warn them." As the Intrepid leaped into the swirling vortex of hyperspace, Lena could only pray that they would be in time. The fragile alliance between humanity and the Zarthians had shattered, and in its place, a new threat loomed. A threat that would test the resolve and ingenuity of the human spirit as never before. The Zarthian hardliners, now in control of the most technologically advanced civilization in the known galaxy, had set their sights on Earth, and they would not rest until humanity, and the cure they represented, was nothing more than a memory lost to the stars. Betrayal and conquest. The journey back to Earth was a tense and somber affair. The crew of the ISV Intrepid, so recently filled with hope and excitement at the prospect of a new era of interstellar cooperation, now found themselves shell-shocked and wary. They had narrowly escaped the sudden and violent coup on Zarthia Prime, but the cost had been high. Several human diplomats and scientists had been killed in the initial fighting, and Supreme Leader Zyloff's fate remained unknown. Captain Lena Novak sat in her ready room, staring blankly at the holographic display showing the star-streaked vortex of hyperspace. Her mind replayed the events of the last few hours over and over, trying to make sense of the senseless. How had everything gone so wrong, so fast? How had the promise of peace and partnership turned into the specter of war and annihilation? A chime at the door roused her from her dark musings. "Enter," she called out, straightening in her chair and composing her features into a mask of calm authority. Dr. Elena Soltani stepped into the room, her normally vibrant features drawn and haggard. She had been working non-stop with her team, analyzing the data they had managed to salvage from the research facility on Zarthia Prime. "Captain," she said, her voice tight with exhaustion and strain, "we've been going over the latest simulations. If the Zarthian hardliners manage to weaponize the virus, modify it to target human physiology, the results would be catastrophic. With their level of technology, they could deliver it to every corner of Earth simultaneously. The death toll would be unimaginable." Lena felt a cold knot of dread settle in her stomach. "Is there any good news, Doctor?" Dr. Soltani hesitated, then nodded slowly. "We believe we're close to a breakthrough on the cure. The data we retrieved from Zarthia Prime, combined with our own research, we think we found a way to neutralize the virus's mutagenic properties. It's still theoretical, but if we're right, we might be able to create a universal antidote, one that could save both our peoples." Lena leaned forward, a flicker of hope kindling in her chest. "How long?" "We need to run more tests, but a few days, a week at most." Dr. Soltani shrugged helplessly. "It's hard to say. This is uncharted territory, Captain. We're working with a completely alien biology, an entirely new paradigm of disease. But we'll get there. We have to." Lena nodded grimly. "Keep at it, Doctor. In the meantime, I need to warn Earth. We have to prepare for the worst." As Dr. Soltani left to return to her lab, Lena turned to the comm panel. With a deep breath, she opened a channel to Earth Central Command. It was time to deliver the news that would change the course of human history. The reaction on Earth was one of shock, disbelief, and quickly mounting terror. The idea of an advanced alien civilization, one capable of crossing the vast distances of space with ease, turning its sights on humanity with hostile intent, it was the stuff of nightmares, the primal fear of the unknown given sudden and terrifying form. Governments scrambled to mobilize their defenses, to prepare for an enemy they had no idea how to fight. Panic rippled through the global populace as the news spread, the fear of impending doom turning cities into chaotic war zones of looting and violence. And through it all, the crew of the Intrepid raced against time, pushing themselves to the brink of exhaustion in a desperate effort to find a way to counter the Zarthian threat. Dr. Soltani and her team worked feverishly in their lab, testing and retesting their theories, praying for a breakthrough. It came, in the end, from an unlikely source. A young Zarthian scientist named Zorax, one of the few who had managed to escape the purge of the cooperative faction. He had stowed away on the Intrepid, revealing himself only after they were safely in hyperspace. "I want to help," he said, his melodic voice trembling with fear and determination. "My people, we have lost our way. The hardliners, they do not represent the best of us. They are driven by fear, by a misguided sense of superiority. But there are those of us who still believe in the promise of peace, of cooperation. Let me work with your scientists. Let me help find a cure, a way to stop this madness before it consumes us all." And so, in the cramped confines of the Intrepid's lab, a human and a Zarthian worked side by side, two disparate species united by a common goal. It was a testament to the resilience of the sentient spirit, the ability to find common ground even in the face of existential crisis. Their breakthrough, when it came, was as elegant as it was effective. A retroviral vector, designed to infiltrate the Zarthian virus and rewrite its genetic code, stripping away its ability to mutate and infect. In simulations, it worked perfectly, neutralizing the virus in a matter of hours. But the real test was yet to come. For even as Dr. Soltani and Zorax celebrated their discovery, news reached the Intrepid of a massive Zarthian fleet entering the solar system. The hardliners, it seemed, were not content to wait for their viral weapon to do its work. They intended to conquer Earth the old-fashioned way, with fire and fury from the stars. Lena stood on the bridge of her ship, watching the sensor feed with a grim determination. The Zarthian fleet was vast, a swarm of sleek silver ships bristling with advanced weaponry. Against the gathered might of Earth's defenses, a ragtag collection of missile platforms, orbital fighter squadrons, and a handful of jury-rigged warships, it seemed an impossible odds. But Lena Novak was not one to back down from a fight. She had sworn an oath to defend Earth, to safeguard humanity against any threat, and she would fulfill that oath, even if it cost her life. "Open a channel to the fleet," she ordered, her voice steady and clear. "This is Captain Lena Novak of the ISV Intrepid. We have a cure for the virus that has ravaged your people. We offer it freely, as a gesture of peace and goodwill. Stand down your weapons, and let us work together to heal the wounds that divide us." For a long, tense moment, there was silence. Then the calm crackled to life, and a familiar voice filled the bridge. "This is Supreme Leader Xylov," the Zarthian said, its tone weary but resolute. "I have retaken control of the government, with the help of loyalists within the military. The hardliners have been dealt with. Captain Novak, I accept your offer of a cure and of peace. Let us begin anew and forge a future together among the stars." Lena closed her eyes, a wave of relief washing over her. It was over. Against all odds, they had prevailed. The human spirit, the indomitable will to survive and thrive, had proven stronger than fear, stronger than hatred. And as the Intrepid glided towards the Zarthian flagship, a small shuttle carrying the precious cure, Lena knew that this was only the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, difficulties to overcome. But she had faith in her crew, in her species, in the unbreakable bonds of friendship and trust that had been forged in the crucible of crisis. Together, humans and Zarthians would face the future, whatever it might bring. And they would face it as one, united by the common dream of peace and prosperity among the stars. Humanity strikes back. The euphoria of the averted war was short-lived. Even as the cure was being distributed among the Zarthian population, troubling reports began to trickle in. Rogue Zarthian factions, still loyal to the defeated hardliners, were launching hit-and-run attacks on human ships and outposts. It seemed that not all of Xyloth's people were ready to accept peace with the primitives of Earth. Captain Lena Novak found herself once again on the front lines, her ship patrolling the borders of human space, guarding against Zarthian incursions. It was a tense and thankless task, made all the more difficult by the lingering trauma of the recent conflict. Her crew was on edge, jumping at shadows, always expecting the worst. But Lena knew that the real fight was happening far from the border skirmishes and dogfights. In the halls of power on Earth, a fierce debate was raging about how to deal with the Zarthian threat. Some advocated for a preemptive strike, a show of force to crush the rogue factions and ensure Earth's safety. Others counseled restraint, arguing that violence would only breed more violence and that the fragile peace with Zilof's government must be preserved at all costs. Lena was called to testify before the United Earth Congress to give her perspective as someone who had seen the conflict firsthand. She spoke passionately about the need for cooperation, for understanding. She reminded the assembled politicians that the Zarthians were not a monolith, that there were those among them who genuinely desired peace. "We have a choice," she said, her voice ringing out in the hushed chamber. "We can lash out in fear and anger, and in doing so become the very thing we despise. Or we can rise above, show the galaxy that humanity is better than that. That we are capable of forgiveness, of empathy, even in the face of aggression." Her words struck a chord, and the vote for restraint carried the day. But Lena knew it was a tenuous victory. The hardliners on Earth were not so easily silenced, and they would be watching her every move, waiting for an excuse to push their agenda of war. The pressure mounted as the border raids intensified. Zarthian ships, armed with advanced weapons and cloaking technology, struck with impunity and then vanished into the void. Human casualties mounted, and with each attack, the cries for retribution grew louder. Lena's breaking point came when a Zarthian suicide bomber managed to slip past her ship's defenses and detonate in the hangar bay. The explosion tore through the Intrepid's hull, killing dozens of her crew and crippling the ship's systems. As she staggered through the smoke and chaos, the sight of the torn and bleeding bodies of her comrades etched itself into her mind. A scar that would never heal. In that moment, something hardened inside Lena Novak. The idealist who had spoken so eloquently of peace and understanding died in the flames of the attack, replaced by a cold and ruthless pragmatist. She realized that the only way to protect her people, to secure a future for humanity, was to strike back hard and fast, to show the Zarthians, both the rogues and the moderates, that Earth was not to be trifled with. She began to plan, to scheme, drawing on all her knowledge of Zarthian culture and technology. She reached out to her contacts within Zilof's government, cultivating a network of spies and informants, and she started to train her crew in new ways of fighting, unconventional tactics that blended human ingenuity with Zarthian tech. Her opportunity came sooner than expected. Intelligence reports indicated that a major faction of the Zarthian rogues was massing in a remote star system, preparing for an all-out assault on Earth. The politicians dithered, unable to agree on a course of action, but Lena knew that hesitation would be fatal. She took matters into her own hands. In a daring raid, the Intrepid and a hand-picked team of human special forces infiltrated the Zarthian staging area. Using a combination of stealth, sabotage, and brute force, they managed to cripple the rogue fleet, destroying key ships and capturing vital intelligence. The battle was fierce and the losses heavy, but in the end, the humans emerged victorious. But the real masterstroke came after the fighting was done. Rather than simply slinking back to Earth, Lena made a bold broadcast on all Zarthian frequencies. She stood tall and proud on the bridge of her battered ship, the bodies of fallen Zarthians visible behind her. "People of Zarthia," she said, her voice hard and clear, "see what becomes of those who threaten Earth. We do not seek war, but neither will we run from it. We will defend ourselves, with all the strength and courage of the human spirit. But to those of you who desire peace, who dream of a future of cooperation and harmony, we extend our hand once more. Join us, and together we will build a new era of prosperity for both our peoples." The broadcast sent shockwaves through Zarthian society. For the first time, they saw the humans not as weak and primitive, but as strong and determined, worthy of respect. Zilof's government, emboldened by this show of human resolve, cracked down hard on the remaining rogue factions. Support for the hardliners crumbled, and more Zarthians began to rally behind the idea of peace. In the end, it was not a grand space battle or a diplomatic summit that truly ended the conflict. It was the countless small acts of understanding, of compassion, that followed in the wake of Lena's raid and broadcast. Human and Zarthian scientists working together to improve the virus cure. Traders and entrepreneurs establishing new routes and partnerships. Artists and scholars exchanging ideas and enriching each other's cultures. Slowly but surely, the wounds of war began to heal. The old hatreds and fears faded, replaced by a growing sense of unity and shared purpose. And though there would always be challenges and setbacks, the foundation had been laid for a true and lasting peace. Lena Novak, the hero of the Zarthian conflict, found herself at the forefront of this new era. She was hailed as a visionary, a champion of interstellar cooperation. But she knew, in her heart, that the real credit belonged to the indomitable human spirit. The spirit that had refused to give in to despair, that had found a way to triumph against impossible odds. And as she stood on the observation deck of the newly repaired Intrepid, gazing out at the stars that were now home to both humans and Zarthians, she allowed herself a small smile. The universe was vast and filled with wonders, and humanity was ready to take its place among them. The future was bright, and it belonged to all of them. Victory and a cure. The fragile peace that had been achieved through Captain Lena Novak's daring actions and heartfelt plea was put to the test as the Zarthian Armada, still vast and powerful despite the defection of many ships to Zoloth's re-established government, approached Earth. The tension was palpable as the blue planet hung in the void, seemingly defenseless against the might of the advanced alien fleet. On the bridge of the ISV Intrepid, Lena stood resolute, her eyes fixed on the viewscreen showing the looming Zarthian ships. She had gambled everything on the hope that her message had resonated with enough of the Zarthian people, that the desire for peace and cooperation would overcome the fear and mistrust sown by the hardliners. But as the minutes ticked by with no sign of the Armada slowing or turning back, doubt began to creep into her heart. Beside her, Dr. Elena Soltani fidgeted nervously, her hand clutching the data drive containing the virus cure. It was the key to everything. The bargaining chip that could end the conflict once and for all. But it was also a double-edged sword. In the wrong hands, the cure could be used as a weapon, a means of control over the Zarthian people. "Steady, Doctor," Lena said softly, sensing the scientist's unease. "We've come too far to lose faith now." Dr. Soltani nodded, drawing strength from the captain's unwavering confidence. Together, they watched and waited as the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. Just as it seemed that all hope was lost, that the Zarthian fleet would open fire and seal the doom of humanity, a single ship broke away from the Armada. It was a small, unassuming craft, dwarfed by the massive warships surrounding it. But as it approached the Intrepid, Lena felt a surge of recognition and relief. "It's Zoloth," she breathed, hardly daring to believe it. "Open a channel." The viewscreen flickered, and the image of the Zarthian leader appeared, its features drawn and weary, but filled with a newfound resolve. "Captain Novak," Zoloth said, its melodic voice filled with respect and gratitude. "Your words, your actions, they have changed everything. When I escaped the coup and made contact with the Loyalist fleet, I shared your message with them. At first, they were resistant, skeptical. But as we talked, as I told them of your courage and compassion, they began to see the truth. That our future lies not in conquest and domination, but in cooperation and understanding." Lena felt a lump in her throat, a surge of emotion that threatened to overwhelm her. She had hoped, had believed with all her heart, that this moment would come. But to hear Zoloth say the words, to know that her gamble had paid off, it was almost too much. "What of the hardliners?" she asked, her voice steady despite the turmoil within. "Will they stand down?" Zoloth's expression hardened, a flash of steel in those obsidian eyes. "They will have no choice. I have taken command of the Armada, and the Loyalist forces are moving to surround them as we speak. They will be given a chance to surrender, to join us in forging a new path. But if they refuse, we will do what we must to protect the peace." Lena nodded, understanding the unspoken implication. The hardliners had chosen their fate, and they would face the consequences of their actions. But for the rest of the Zarthian people, for the billions of humans watching and waiting on Earth, there was still hope. "We have something for you," she said, gesturing to Dr. Soltani. "A cure for the virus, developed by our scientists working in tandem with your own. We offer it freely, as a symbol of our commitment to this new alliance. Let it be the foundation upon which we build a future together." Xyloth's eyes widened, a mix of shock and wonder playing across its features. It understood the magnitude of the gift, the trust and faith it represented. With a slow, solemn nod, it accepted the data drive from Dr. Soltani's trembling hands. "Thank you," it said, its voice thick with emotion. This is more than a cure. It is a new beginning for both our peoples. Let us waste no time in administering it, in healing the wounds that have divided us for so long." And so, as the Zarthian armada stood down and the loyalist forces moved to secure the surrender of the hardliners, a new chapter began. Human and Zarthian medical teams worked side by side to distribute the cure, to bring hope and healing to the beleaguered Zarthian people. On Earth, the news of the averted war and the promise of a brighter future was met with jubilation and relief. Lena Novak, the captain who had risked everything for the sake of peace, was hailed as a hero, a visionary who had changed the course of history. But for Lena, the true victory lay not in the accolades or the celebrations, but in the quiet moments that followed. In the sight of human and Zarthian children playing together in the streets, their laughter ringing out across the once divided worlds. In the knowledge that, in the face of impossible odds, the human spirit had triumphed, not through force of arms, but through compassion, understanding, and an unshakable belief in the power of unity. As she stood on the observation deck of the Intrepid, watching the stars drift by in a sea of endless possibility, Lena felt a sense of peace wash over her. The road ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges and setbacks, moments of doubt and hardship, but she knew, with a certainty that came from the very core of her being, that they would face those challenges together. Humans and Zarthians, united by the bonds of friendship and the shared dream of a better tomorrow. It was a dream worth fighting for, worth sacrificing for. And as Lena looked out at the infinite expanse of the cosmos, she knew that it was a dream that would never die. For the human spirit, in all its indomitable strength and resilience, would always find a way to triumph, to reach out across the stars, to forge new paths and new alliances, to stand tall in the face of adversity, and to never, ever give up. And in that moment, as the light of distant suns danced across her face, Captain Lena Novak smiled, for she knew, with a certainty born of hope and hard-won wisdom, that the future was bright, and that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as one. Humans and Zarthians, standing together against the darkness, a beacon of hope, a light to guide the way. And so, as the ISV Intrepid set forth once more into the vast unknown, a new era dawned. An era of exploration and discovery, of unity and understanding. An era in which the impossible became possible, and the dreams of yesterday became the realities of today. An era of peace, prosperity, and endless possibility, stretching out before them like the infinite reaches of space. A future bright with promise, and filled with the indomitable spirit of those who dared to reach for the stars.